Hello and welcome to Landing Page Reviews. My name's Levi. And today I wanted to do something a little bit different as opposed to just reviewing a single landing page. I wanted to talk about something that I've seen kind of a lot lately, and that's kind of a certain trend within clip art that a lot of indie hackers are using. And I think it's hard because I think if you're an indie hacker, you have a lot to think about. You have to build your product. You have to be thinking about business, about the costs associated with it. You have to think about the user experience of the product. So by the time you get to a landing page, it's kind of like you've done all this work to try to get something ready, and then you have to figure out how to present it in a way that doesn't suck enough so that you can get people to actually sign up for the thing that you've really been working on. Your goal wasn't to build a landing page. Your goal was to build this product and get people to sign up for it, but you got to start with this kind of landing page thing, but it's probably not what you've been working on this whole time. And what it seems like happens often in this case is that a lot of hackers at this point will just start kind of grabbing clip art that just to kind of fill space. They don't have enough content. They don't have they don't feel very confident in maybe even just posting a screenshot, or they're worried that there's not enough on their page, and they want to try to add some visual interest to the page. So they just start putting in this very trendy kind of clip art that I see. And I think it really actually has the opposite effect. I'm just going to go through a few pages. I'm not going to get super in depth in here, but I just take a look at the similarities that we see. And there's nothing really wrong with these layouts, except that by using this clip art, they're really diluting the impact that all of these pages have, and they're making it very hard to stand out. So let's take a look at this. So we see a lot of these very flat, kind of generic stuff. I mean, this could be representing a social network. This could really be, it could be for a chat app. Same here. This could be for team collaboration. It could be for presentation software, right? This image doesn't really communicate anything, and it's so trendy and common and bland. And no offense to whoever's doing this. I'm sure this is awesome. This criticism isn't meant to put down, but it doesn't leave any kind of visual impact. Same here. We have really similar kind of, stuff happening here, where, you have, this is kind of an interesting image, but it's pretty, again, it doesn't give you a lot. Same here. This image is given so much half the page, but it doesn't communicate very much at all to me. This is better. But this image here, these are really big images that look so much like these images. And then, but same kind of problem here. We have a really kind of standardized visual style. I don't know the way of saying it, but to back up, and this isn't meant to criticize, but we really should think about, like, what is the goal of the artwork that we put onto the page? And I can think of a couple things that good artwork should do and good clip art should do. It first should, there's that old saying, a picture is worth 1,000 words. And it really is true that we connect with visuals much more than we connect with text. Reading text takes work. It's a bit more abstract, but a visual can connect with us on a different level. And so that's what a good visual should do, is it should get our attention and illustrate something for us. It should connect with us on an emotional level that visuals are very good at doing. It should give a certain kind of, it should create a certain kind of almost a bookmark in our brain, something, a picture that we can associate with the product. So it'll help us to remember that product when we want to come back to it. And I'll give some good examples of this in a minute. But what the problem with using really to rely on this kind of clip art and this artwork is it actually has the opposite effect because these images are so bland. It's kind of the equivalent of um, like the smiling customer support person. And I bet you know what I'm talking about. Let me see if I. Yeah, this person, right? We've seen this person a million times on kind of you know cheaply designed pages, right? And it means nothing to us. We know that that's not a real person. We know that if we call their customer support, that person's not going to be on the other end. So when we see an image like this next to some kind of headline, what our brains just immediately ignore it and gloss it over, and it creates no connection with us because our brains have learned that there's nothing unique about this. We've seen it so many. And that's what this clip art kind of does is instead of creating an emotional connection and communicating with the visitor, it actually is just creating noise on the page. It's creating something that our brain is actually now skipping over. Visually, we're skipping it over because it's seen it so much and it's not communicating anything to us. And it also kind of homogenizes the landing page because we have nothing to kind of visually associate there, with this product anymore. So I could never remember like, oh yeah, Treadle. The Treadle has no real visual connection with me because of this kind of homogeneous clip art. So that's kind of the problem I see with relying on this. I think you're better off if you don't have good clip art to not use it and go with something much more sparse or a screenshot of your site. And really, if your clip art isn't going to do that, then don't use it. Just go simple. Be confident. It shows a little bit of confidence, I think. Most likely, we're not all designers. Most likely, we're just trying to build something that's going to get people to our product, I would assume. And that's why a lot of us are relying on this stuff. But I want to give some examples that maybe would serve for inspiration of how you can do good clip art. And so the first one I want to look at is Know Your Company. And this is actually an older page here. But the thing I like about this clip art, and this really worked for me because I always remembered this. This is actually not a very good drawing. This is something that most of us could achieve if we sat down with a piece of paper. This didn't take a ton of skill, but it sticks in our mind because it's something that's authentic to me. I don't look at this and go, oh yeah, what clip art site did they get this off? I know that there was actually someone, probably maybe even the CEO of this company, who sat down and drew this. And so it immediately kind of creates a connection with me because of its simplicity, because of its uniqueness. And that's one of the things I think as independent entrepreneurs, indie hackers, that we can have the opportunity to put something out there that's not super polished. And we can do that with our landing pages as well. And the problem with this clip art is it's very polished. Like whoever did this is a good designer in many ways, but it's too polished. It doesn't have any of the unique and individualistic charm that this has. So that's one of the first things I'd say is don't be afraid to sit down and just draw a sketch or a cartoon, or sit down and draw your own clip art. Have fun with it, and it'll create an emotion, much more of an emotional connection and a visual connection in your visitor's head. So I encourage that. Here's this another product, Basecamp, which a lot of people are familiar with, which has very distinctive clip art. Now, this is something that clearly communicates what's going on. It's put it in a fun, kind of cartoony visual style. But instead of just something super generic, it's an eye-catching image. It's a little goofy, but it also really tells me a lot about what they're trying to solve. This is clearly something that's to help with project management, a professional worker, consolidating information. It's pretty clear in an eye-catching visual. So this works because it's much more specific. It's much more unique. You're not going to see this image anywhere else. This is only for the base, excuse me, this is only for the Basecamp homepage. Something a little more subtle too is Notion. I think this is an amazingly good, beautiful landing page. They're not their clip art again that they're using. It's this hand drawn, very clean kind of stuff, very cartoony still, but it's very unique to Notion. It's within a consistent visual style that's unique to them and very specific to their product. It's not something so abstract that it could apply to any product, to any value proposition. This is something unique again to Notion. It's really integrated with the page. It works. This is a great job of how to use any clip art assets. It's to make sure that it's specific as possible to your product and the problems you're trying to solve. Because I was able to remember this. I hadn't looked at this homepage for at least a month. And it stuck in my mind though, because of this direct, unique kind of visual style. Really stuck in my mind and created a connection with this fairly plain product. If you look at it, it's not it's very nice and clean design, but it doesn't have a lot of, visual flair to it. But their landing page does, and it really creates an association in my mind that's consistent with in creating kind of a connection with me. So I really liked this. Another homepage that I wanted to point out, something completely different, is Glitch. And I thought Glitch is a genius design. There's, again, I would say don't optimize for something that looks good. Optimize if you want to put clip art in there, put something that's original, put something that's unique, put something that is fun for you. That doesn't just not look completely amateur. That shouldn't be your standard. Put something in that's unique to you. And it's going to connect with people because this is such weird, goofy, unique clip art that is so, I just love it because it looks like something you'd pull out of a really cheapo clip art line. But it's using weird colors. It looks retro. And it makes this homepage so memorable. And so just, even just weird stuff like this fish as their logo. It used to be even weirder, which I liked their previous homepage better just for the sheer weirdness of it. But it felt like something very original, very unique, and compared to, other sites that are doing something like, say, like GitHub, right? I mean, how bland is this? This page is, GitHub's an amazing, awesome product, but man, compare this to this, which is, a collaborative coding solution. This stuff just kind of sticks in your mind. I think as we're building our pages, if we can just put out something that's unique, that's going to stand out, as opposed to something that's just going to look okay, you're in way better shape. Similar example is pitch. Now, this is something a lot more subtle than Glitch, but I thought this is a very unique style of artwork here that is consistent, and that's really, I haven't seen anything like it before. So when I think of, it sticks in my mind when I think of this. It's very original. It's more abstract, like these sorts of things. It's clear they're working on some kind of web collaboration user interface, but because of the original style that it's using, again, this is really something that is stuck in my mind and creates a connection with the product and the landing page and the marketing. And the last one, going back to that point of don't be afraid to be unique and weird and have something that doesn't look super polished. Look at the original Twitter design. I don't know how many people remember this, but look how bizarre this is. Now, Twitter is much more homogenized now and much more bland. But look at how it started out. And I think that's one of the reasons that it was so, this logo is so bizarre. It looks like a piece of snot or something. It's so weird. This weird font, all these different font usages, just such a funky homepage, but it was so successful. And so don't be afraid to put up something. Always opt for something that is original and unique as opposed to something that's polished and just kind um, especially when you're starting out, because you want people to remember you want people to remember, like, oh yeah, there's this one product. What was that? Around the value proposition that you're doing. So try to, again, I'm just going back through these pages. I just encourage anyone who's working on their product, don't hide your product behind a very homogeneous landing page that no one is going to remember, that no one's going to be able to associate. And you may be thinking, yeah, well, all these companies that I just showed had huge budgets to work on, and more or less that's true. But you know what? Then just do something. Here's one that doesn't. Button down. Easiest way to run your newsletter. Again, this is something that is very plain. There's no clip art here, but it's quick. It's to the point. It's not creating visual noise, and if it doesn't have a lot of visual flair, that's okay. Just cut right to the point. I can see how this works. It's got the content there, and it's not wasting my time and hiding things behind clip art. So don't be afraid just to cut to the chase. This sticks in my mind, and now I know visually what to expect a little more. Again, even though there's not a lot of flair here, this is something that makes a lot of sense to me. It's quick, it's to the point. This is a good landing page. But yeah. So that's my thoughts on this. I tweeted about this earlier, but I wanted to do it just a little bit more of a video because it's something I've noticed a lot with a lot of the landing pages I'm seeing coming out of indie entrepreneurs. If you would like me to review your landing page and just give my candid thoughts, I'd be happy to. Follow me on Twitter at Levi and just send me a message, and I'll record a video and post it up there.